Hello there. My name is Brett Christie. I'm an IT, digital, and security consultant, and I love helping people get the most out of technology and security. While I do enjoy scripting and fixing issues, fixing up computers, doing all that, I really do enjoy giving trainings like these in person and remote to hundreds of people around the world. So I guess you could say I'm a social engineer. Thank you. Thank you very much. Not only do I do my own jokes, I also do my own sound effects, as you could tell by that one that just happened. So if you still are on this, I hope that you find this training educational, enlightening, and hopefully engaging as well, right? Want to make it fun. Like I said, I've done these all over the virtual world and also in person in a number of different places. But full disclosure, some people have told me that I'm not remotely funny. Chirp, 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 chirp. That's the sound of crickets. I'm not a very good cricket maker, but get it remotely. It's virtual trainings. Anyway, if you don't get the jokes, I'm just going to pretend you're laughing because this is a pre-recorded video and I can't actually see your reaction. So please don't tell me anything other than that in the comments. It'll make me feel good about myself. But as part of this training, we will talk about actual social engineers, not just my bad puns. We'll talk about phishing attacks, and we'll talk about some recommendations on how you can best secure yourself and your loved ones and organizations, right? But as we're looking at this, to the viewer, I'm talking to you. I believe that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So please, before you click on a random text about your USPS package that isn't actually missing because you didn't actually order that, and it's just a hacker trying to get you, in the immortal words of Zach Galifianakis, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. All right? Just think about it. Think about it. Did this actually come from that person? Here's some tips and tricks that we're going to talk about so you can be better prepared to know what to look for and what to look out for. But first, social engineering. Well, you might ask, what is social engineering? Thanks for asking. I actually have a slide for that from the Google. The use of deception to manipulate individuals. Or from Cisco, when bad actors gain the trust of their targets, so they lower their guard. I think those are both true, right? Social engineering, I've found, normally has three distinct parts. So let's talk about those. The first one is impersonation. So it's when someone pretends to be someone that they aren't. That's not a stormtrooper, right? The second part is manipulation. It's when someone tries to seek control or influence a person to mislead them, right? You know what I'm talking about, Obi. And the third, it's always a trap, okay? Urgency, right? They're trying to instill that emotional response inside of you. I meant elicit an emotional response inside of you, but instill inside of you some fear that you're going to miss out, some FOMO, if you will. So let's go on a fun little journey far, far away from here. But before we go, I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you to all the wonderful creators out there who have inspired me to make this, and that I'm using a lot of images from movies or from other websites that I do not own. So any of these images that I'm putting, I'll put in the description below. Thank you guys so much for them. Other ones like this background, thank you to Adobe Express and AI for helping me create these things. But anything that's not mine, I'll put in the description. Thanks, everybody. Couldn't do this without you. But let's say, picture this. Let's say you're trying to hack into a top secret galactic installation, right? Something possibly owned by the Empire. I don't know. Whether it's on purpose or on accident, this is how you could do it using social engineering. So first, you have to know what they're going to do, right? So let's say you hide, you smuggle yourself in something that you may or may not have ever considered that you would have to put yourself in to get past their initial scans. And then you know they're going to send a scanning crew on. So you wait for them to come on, and then what do? You little bunny foo-foo them over the head, right? Put on their attire. You are now become another person. You have, as the master disguise has taught us, right? You've become another person. You have impersonated them. That's step one of social engineering. So now we need to manipulate. We need to mislead them, get them to do something for you. So, and if you can do it with a sense of urgency, all the better. We do a little Tap, tap right here, to pretend you've got a bad transmitter. That's some urgency. That's some manipulation that gets them to open the door. And do they find their stormtrooper friends? No. They get little bunny food over the head by a Wookiee and his scruffy-looking sidekick, right? And now, through impersonation, manipulation, and urgency, you have gotten into the inner sanctum where your OG hacker R2D2 himself can get into the rest of the system, right? You have just gotten into what you needed to get into. So that's social engineering. That's a wrap, and a tasty one of that. Now, social engineering is often used in the form of phishing attacks, and according to CISA, phishing accounts for 90% of cyber attacks. They begin with phishing, right? That's a lot. That's like almost 100 for those of you that are math aficionados out there. Pretty crazy. What is phishing, you might say? Well, thankfully, got a definition of that too from NIST. Phishing is a technique for attempting to acquire sensitive data through a fraudulent solicitation. Normally that's email, right? But it could be anything. It could be a Facebook or Instagram message or a text or other things too. I guess you could get snail mail. It's phishing, but for the most part, email is what most people use. So let's take that back a long time ago again. Let's just say, bear with me here. I'm sorry, I've got a bit of a cold, but bear with me. Maybe if we'd use phishing for good, our friends Jin and Cassian would still be with us, right? Instead of having to go lay everything on the line to get these plans, maybe if they'd hopped on a terminal, sent a little email over, could have saved their lives, could have saved some of our dear boffins as well. I'm just saying. I do concede, though, that this wouldn't make as nearly good of a movie to watch. So I guess how it was written is pretty good. But bear with me here. Let's say that the rebels did write an email. What would it look like? This might be it, right? We will need to incorporate impersonation, manipulation, and urgency. So let's look at this. First, impersonation. Obviously, you're pretending to be Darth Vader, right? You got his cool little helmet icon. Maybe even you throw in some words that he would use. But now let's see if we're inspecting this from our own. If we got this email, we're a stormtrooper in the Empire, right? What would we look for? We'll put on our third eye, which stands for investigate, by the way. Boom. And we see Vavder? I don't know Darth Vavder. I don't know no Vabbity Davity. Who's that guy? DV. I don't know this guy, right? Maybe they would have noticed that, but maybe not, because what does this attacker do? They include name dropping, right? Like the Emperor. They include trying to manipulate them. They're trying to get them to send the plans for a meeting with the Emperor, right? That's a manipulation, getting them to act. And they're getting them to do it immediately, urgently, or I'll find someone else who will. Which, if you're actually thinking this Darth Vader means, he will force choke you. That's just what's going to happen, right? So I think the rebels could have gotten away with this, but who knows? Unfortunately, phishing is not normally used for good. Instead, it is used to steal money from grandmas. So please remember, don't steal money from grandmas. Don't join the dark side. Okay? And watch out for these kind of things when you're checking your emails, texts, other messages. But for now, that's a wrap on phishing. But remember, check yourself before you wreck yourself. And now, I'm getting thirsty. So we're going to do a quick word from our sponsor. Just think about this one. Any ideas yet? Well, it's actually, and I apologize for my poor sugary work, but if you know how to type that and you can hack into that, then that's pretty good. But otherwise, I think it's a pretty good password. So feel free to use multiple languages in your passwords too. Apologies that I make all my own sound effects, but you stuck around the video this long, so really it's your fault. Just kidding. If you are enjoying this, if you're learning something from it, please consider liking it, pound that subscribe, and drop me some comments on how I can do better. I'd appreciate that. That'd be great. In the meantime, though, let's go over a few quick recommendations, bringing it back to this galaxy now, right? How can we do better at cybersecurity today? So we'll go over some quick do's and some don'ts, right? First off, please use multi-factor authentication whenever possible, right? What is multi-factor authentication, you might ask? You're good at these questions. It's like, wow, you knew I would have a slide for this. Thank you so much. Anyway, MFA is something that you have, like a key, plus something that you know, a password, plus something that you are, biometric, fingerprints, facial recognition, voice recognition, right? As long as you don't have a cold, things like that. So something you have, something you know, something you are. So let's say that you're trying to log in, you type in your passcode, it sends a prompt to your phone. Your phone then okays through your face or biometrics that is you, and then you can accept, right? It sends a prompt, says you can accept. That's multi-factor authentication. What is not multi-factor authentication is getting a text or an email code. Technically, that's multi, more than one, but it's really only two. It's two-factor, nothing more than that, and it's weak factors. Weak sauce, okay? SMS texts are not encrypted. Neither are these email codes that are sent. So if someone simjacks your phone or gets into your email somehow because you use the same password for everything, then they got you. They got all your forms of secondary factoring. We're going to call it that, right? So use MFA whenever possible. 2FA is still better than 1FA, right? Twice as good. So use it if you have to, but if you can get multi with a prompt or an app authenticator to your phone, way better. The one downside to that, though, please don't just click on an accept button. Don't fall for these MFA fatigue attacks that are going on. If you didn't prompt it, I'm willing to bet it's not Chewy borrowing your Netflix trying to get in, right? Without asking. So please don't just approve it unless it's you, right? Unless you are at the place where it is asking for. Another do use strong passwords, right? Your passwords should go to the gym. They should look swole, bro, right? We got to be using the best ones. Sleeveless passwords are okay, but actually sleeved ones might even be better because you want them longer pass phrases are great. Those are harder to crack. If you're going to use a long password or even a short password, don't put it on a sticky note. I've worked in IT for way too many years and seen way too many important people put it on their keyboards. Everyone looks there. Okay, please don't do that. Don't put it on a notes app on your phone either, because everyone does that too. Okay, you can use a password manager. That would be great. There's some wonderful password managers out there. But don't just stick it on a keyboard, and don't just share it with a friend or a neighbor or a coworker either, because who knows if they're just putting stuff on their keyboard, right? And if you use the same credentials for multiple accounts, that's just sharing too, right? And as soon as they get hacked, then people can get into your other work or personal environments. So please use separate, unique passwords for everything and everything. Next item, use a VPN, a virtual private network. It creates this cool little tunnel that secures you a lot more than not using it and makes it so you can browse without having to worry about packet sniffing and a lot of other problems, right? It specifically combats public Wi-Fi. If you don't need a password to get on the Wi-Fi, it's not encrypted, right? I mean, it's not secure. Please don't use it. So remember, do verify. Put on that, that third eye for investigate, double check everything, and check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's the final do. Final recommendation. With that, that's a wrap, folks. And I ain't the real Slim Shady, so that's as much wrapping as you're going to get because we're out of time, and I don't think you want to hear me try to wrap. But anyway, thanks for making it this far. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, please give a like. Give me a comment on how I can do better. Thanks so much. Have a good one.